welcome back to the channel, guys. R34 DIY LED third brake light 2.0. The last one I did was pretty basic and I only had those 3 LEDs sitting at the back there. I don't know if you remember that one, but I'll put it in the description anyway. Disclaimer, try this at your own risk. If you're not competent in doing it, please don't. Remember to use PPE, personal protective equipment, and everything I used for this video will be in the description below. So yeah, please don't attempt it if you don't know what you're doing or haven't done research or anything like that. But we'll start with the LEDs. These are 10mm very bright luminescent red LEDs. Now this is not something I've used before. Normally I buy the ones already made that can be connected to a 12 or 24 volt power supply, or 18, whatever it might be, and basically you just plug and play. This is the first time I've actually attempted building something from scratch, so yeah, look, it's not the best, but I'm pretty wrapped with how it turned out. So just to give you guys a bit of an idea, this is how bright they are. They do get brighter depending on obviously the setup. On the R34 it's quite bright, so it's going to look quite good. Now we'll start by making the mount for this, and as I said, these are 10mm bulbs. So I found this at Bunnings, which is like I don't know what it's actually called completely, but it's like a metal trestle type thing. Now I only need 6 tabs, so what I'll be doing is I'll be cutting it down to obviously make it so I can put the LEDs in those holes there. Now obviously we need to cut it first before I can start trying to drill anything, but the way I'm going to go about it is obviously making it so it sits in there flush, nice, and I'm not obviously recycling old parts. So that's it there. After I've cut it down, I got a pretty good cut, if I'm honest, better than what I expected I would do. But so what I'm going to do now is I've got a vise, or a vise on the bench top there. I'm going to put it in and I'm going to start drilling the holes. Now to drill this, I didn't use a drill bit. I used a stepping tool, one of these things here, the Christmas trees, and I put it on the second to last one there, and that worked out to be, it was quite uncanny, that worked out to be perfectly, exactly, just a little bit smaller than the LEDs, but so they sat in there nice and snug. So definitely recommend using one of those tools. Now this is an issue you're going to run in with, is that if you push too hard, you're going to bend the metal, because it's quite soft and thin. The best way to get around this is to put it back in the vise and flatten it out. So I've done that now and I've flattened it out, and as I said, these basically just pop straight in there. Obviously you got to push a little bit, but they sit in there nice and snug, so I know that they're not going to fall out. Now I've sped this video up, and you'll see that I've sped it up in most parts because this originally was a 45-minute video, because I'm learning as I go along anyway. So I've put all the bulbs in there now, and look, it looks okay as it is. Now if this was just a straight plug and play, that would be awesome, but when I'm dealing with new electronic stuff now, I've got to be attaching the resistors and making sure I get positive and negative terminals on, because if you attach one of these to a car battery, they're only 2 volts, so they will pop pretty much straight away and burn out, and I had lots of issues with that to begin with. So here obviously I've got the resistor on there, and I don't solder things. I've never soldered things, so this was all a learning experience for me. I can assure you that my soldering is absolutely diabolical, and it is probably the worst you've ever seen. However, I got the job done, and again, I'm learning as I go along. And look, it's not about doing easy projects, it's about doing things outside of your comfort zone, I think. So when you do things like this, obviously there's a sense of achievement. Honestly, I'm chuffed that I was able to do it, to be honest with you. Yeah, there's research involved and obviously a lot of things like that, but it's not that it's not difficult. It's good to sometimes try something you haven't done before. Auto electrical stuff, I've always just cut the wire, join 2 together and away we go type thing, especially in making the last LED brake light. Was basically the parts are already there, because the electrodes and stuff, or sorry, the resistors were already built into the LED. So this was really, really daunting to me to begin with. So you'll see throughout the whole video, I keep testing the LEDs. That's to make sure they're working. First of all, I'm just making sure this one, the resistor, works on this, because if you attach one of these globes to a drill battery, it will pop straight away and burn out. And I know that because I did it to 2 of them before I kind of figured out that where I was going wrong, so to speak. So you can see they're quite bright there. Next thing we have to do is attach all the resistors to the positive end of the LED. Now the positive end is always the longer wire with the LEDs. And there's a few other ways of finding out as well too. The best advice I can give you guys is to go onto YouTube and have a look at how to do this stuff. That's how I learnt. The guys at JCar Electronics gave me some good tips as well, so that was really beneficial for me. But yeah, it's always good to obviously seek advice when you haven't done something before. I always do, because when I've tried to do things by myself, it hasn't worked out the best way. So I'm going to attach 6 resistors to all 6 of these globes. I'm not going to show you me doing all 6 of them, because it gets a bit long in the tooth, which is probably why this video ended up being 45 minutes to begin with, just over 45 minutes to be honest with you. So I've sped up parts of the video, and I've also cut out some things that I don't necessarily think you need to see, because it's all pretty much common sense. And if you guys get stuck, I'm here to help anyway. So again, once that's all done, I've done about 3. I do 3 of these bulbs. I wanted to do at least half to show you guys how I'm soldering, I guess. And again, something I've never done before. I've never really used a soldering iron. It's just not something I ever pursued, so to speak. So this stuff that I got here is all, I'd had it for a long time, but I needed to obviously dig it out. Now the reason why I've done this and why I've started to learn how to solder is because, as you know, you guys saw the tail lights that I'm making. I need to learn how to do this stuff. It's no good me going to someone else to get it done. If it's meant to be DIY, then it's meant to be obviously me doing the DIY. So that's why I need to learn how to do this stuff, and obviously use resistors and all that. So making a connector for the T5 socket in the car from an old LED bulb. I'm sure you guys have some of these laying around. These are LED globes that you get for your Parker lights, which also work in your third brake light for the R34. So basically what I'm going to be doing, this one's broken anyway. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be snipping the pins off this one, and basically yanking that out there and soldering the positive and negative terminals on there, and then using that to plug directly into the T5 socket at the back of the car for the brake light. So pretty nifty to have. I don't know if you can buy these individually, but I had one laying around. Maybe you might need to do an eBay special and order a few of them. But basically I'm trying to explain how I went about it. Now, along with that too, make sure you're wearing a face mask and eye protection when you're soldering too, guys. I really mean it. So I've gone and attached all the red wires or the positive terminals to the positive ends of the LEDs. I know it looks like a dog's breakfast. It doesn't look pretty at all. However, all my research indicates that I should be doing separate wires for each LED instead of one wire connected to one. And the reason for that is if one of them blows, they all blow. But now the way this is set up, if one goes, then I can easily replace that. It's not going to be difficult to replace, especially if they're all standalone. So food for thought there, guys. These clips here are basically, I'm going to use them to connect the T5 socket to the actual unit here. And it's got 2 plugs there, so it works out well because you've got one for positive and one for negative. Now we'll attach the black wires to the negative end of the LED. This is now your negative terminal. Again, simple soldering stuff. You just put the wire on there, solder it together, and that's it really. Now I did a variety of different lengths, and this was just some old wire I had laying in the garage. I didn't go out and buy new wire. The only thing I bought new for this was basically the LEDs and the resistors. Everything else I had sitting in the garage, which I decided to obviously utilize and make into something that I didn't have before. So the LEDs I think cost me $11 in total, and that was for 10 of them. As I said, I burnt 2 of them. So yeah, always buy more than you need, obviously. It's not rocket science, but there are going to be mistakes, especially if you've never done this stuff before. Now, shrink tube, I covered the resistors in shrink tube, and then I connected it to the drill battery to make sure everything's working. And as I said, I keep testing to make sure it's always working, because the last thing you want to do is go 99% of the way, all the way, and then all of a sudden you realize that something's happened to a wire, or something hasn't connected the way it should, and then you've got to take it all apart and do it again, which, look, wouldn't be that easy with this, especially when everything is covered in shrink wrap. So I'm just clipping on the connector now. Sorry for the bad focus, guys. I'm clipping on the connector now, and basically this from here will be able to go into the T5 socket, and from the T5 socket the T5 bulb will go in T5 connector. The T5 connector will go into the T5 bulb socket for the brake light, and that's basically it. So right now that's all in there. I'm going to do a final test fitting, so I just attached a wire to each of the other sides of that just to make sure it all works. I know you're probably thinking overkill, but it needed to happen, and to be honest with you, you don't want to mess this up. So obviously I'm not going to show you guys how to take out the light, because that's in a previous video. I'll put the card up or the link in the description, one of the two, so you guys can see how to get in there and actually take it out. So that was the first one I made, and as you can see, it's pretty basic. These LEDs here, it was exactly what I was talking about. They come from the factory sealed, ready to go, with resistors inbuilt in them. So all you really need to do is connect them to the car with positive and negative, and away you go. So again, those 3 lights there, look, it wasn't the worst thing. It was okay, but I wanted to do something else. So once I've got everything in there now, I've just put everything in there. I'm going to get the hot glue gun and glue it in there, because that's going to be easy instead of using blue tack. I can't believe I used blue tack. So silly, but I'm going to use the hot glue gun to put a couple of dabs on either side and stick it down. Now, once that's done, basically it's a simple case of test fitting it to the car and making sure everything sits in there well, and I guess maneuvering the bar around the actual light to make sure it's center. So with this here, it worked out to be pretty center, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out in terms of the fitment and how it works. Now obviously double check everything works, and then enjoy. So this is the car beforehand, this is the car now. Obviously it looks a million times better, in my opinion anyway. And look, I get a sense of accomplishment because it's something I built from scratch. So look guys, I hope this video helped in some way, shape or form. Thank you for everyone who watches. If you watch the whole thing, hats off to you, because I probably would have bailed. But yeah, I love the way it looks, and look, moving forward I'll be trying a few more difficult things to do, especially around engine work and stuff like that. But you guys take care.